You know that feeling, right? That one cringy memory or a worry you just can't shake, and it just plays on a loop in your head.
Yeah, it's a super common feeling. It's almost like your brain has a mind of its own, doesn't it? It just picks a song and plays it on repeat, and you have no say in the matter? Well, guess what? There's actually a name for that, and there's some really fascinating new science looking at how we can finally turn it off. The official term in psychology is rumination. And honestly, that analogy of a scratched record, it's perfect. It's not just, thinking about something. It's being trapped by it. And this is a big deal. It's not just some bad habit. It's a key driver behind major mental health challenges like depression and anxiety.
And for so long, what was the advice? Just stop thinking about it, as if it were that easy. It kind of blamed the whole thing on a lack of willpower. But here's the thing. New research is showing it has almost nothing to do with willpower. It's about the actual machinery in your brain. Specifically, it's about your brain's braking system.
So let's break it down. Think of your brain as having these two systems that are constantly in a push and pull. First, you've got the engine. This is called the default mode network, or DMN for short. It's the part that's always running in the background, mind-wandering, self-reflecting, all that stuff. Then you have the brakes. That's your prefrontal cortex. This is the control center, the part that's supposed to jump in and say, all right, we're done with that thought now. The problem is, for people who ruminate, it's like those brakes are failing.
So what makes the brakes break? Well, there's a secret ingredient, a neurotransmitter called GABA. The best way to think about GABA is like brake fluid. It's the stuff that lets your prefrontal cortex actually control the signals flying back and forth between your memory and emotion centers. It's what gives it the power to tell an intrusive thought, hey, stop. If you don't have enough of this brake fluid, the brakes just, they can't get any grip. Okay, so how in the world do we know all this stuff? Well, scientists are literally looking under the hood of the mind. Right now, a joint team from the University of Oxford and the University of Exeter is in the middle of this totally groundbreaking study to figure out exactly how this whole engine and brake system works, and, more importantly, why it sometimes breaks down.
And I mean, this is no small-time project. We're talking about a £5 million investment. That is a huge amount of money, and it really shows you just how seriously the scientific community is taking this. They're basically betting that if they can crack this mechanism, it could lead to a massive breakthrough for mental health.
And to do it, they're throwing the entire high-tech toolkit at the problem. I'm talking advanced MRI scans, 2 different kinds of non-invasive brain stimulation, things called TMS and TUS. They're using computational models to map the brain's circuits. And get this, they're even using a wild new technique that uses the pupils of your eyes as a biofeedback tool to help control brain activity. Incredible stuff.
This all leads to the central mystery they're trying to solve. Professor Ed Watkins from the University of Exeter puts it perfectly. It's the ultimate chicken or the egg question, right? Does the faulty brain wiring cause these repetitive negative thoughts? Or does having these repetitive negative thoughts all the time eventually break the wiring? That is what this study is aiming to finally figure out.
But, just understanding the problem is only half the battle. What gets really exciting about this research is that they're not just observing, they're actively trying to fix the brakes. They're moving from just diagnosis into actually creating new treatments.
Their plan is this really clever 2-step approach. Okay, so step 1, they use targeted brain stimulation, totally non-invasive, to directly interrupt those stuck thought patterns. It's kind of like giving the brain's braking system a jump start. Then, for step 2, they follow that up with cognitive training that's designed to help people build new, healthier, more flexible ways of thinking.
And the goal here, it's not just some temporary fix. Professor Jacinta O'Shea from Oxford says the real aim is to create change that lasts, to actually help rewire the brain for these more adaptive thinking styles permanently. So the implications of this are just huge. I mean, they go way beyond just treating rumination. This research is part of a major shift in how we think about managing our own minds.
What it really does is support something called cognitive control theory. And the core idea here is fascinating. It says that the best approach isn't to try and fight or suppress a negative thought, because let's be honest, that usually just makes it stronger. Instead, the goal is to strengthen the brain's braking system, what scientists call its inhibitory mechanisms. When you do that, you can let a thought pop up, you can acknowledge it, and then you just let it go, because your brakes are strong enough to disengage.
But hold on, because the implications don't even stop with human psychology. This is where the story takes a really interesting, unexpected turn.
It turns out that this work on our brain's braking system has a direct and pretty fascinating connection to a totally different field, artificial intelligence.
No, really, think about it for a second. When a human brain gets stuck in one of those repetitive negative thought loops, we call it rumination. Well, when an AI model gets stuck in a repetitive, nonsensical loop, what do engineers call it? A hallucination. It is fundamentally the same problem, a system that can't stop itself. So understanding our own biological braking system, our inhibitory circuits, could actually be the key to building smarter, more stable, and more reliable AI.
So all of this leaves us with a really provocative question, doesn't it? For centuries, we've focused on the thoughts themselves. We try to fight them, to change them, to control them. But what if? What if we've been looking at the wrong part of the equation this whole time? What if the future of mental health isn't about becoming a better master of our thoughts, but something much simpler? Upgrading our brakes.